जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय कृष्ण बलराम, जय कृष्ण बलराम, कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम। जय गौरानिताय गौरानिताय गौरानिताय, जय गौरानिताय। जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 प्रभुपाद। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON Samsthapakarya Savior of the whole world Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinde ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanand. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtike. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 6, The Downfall of Saubhari Muni, Text 47. Yad Garhasthyam tu samviksha, Yad Garhasthyam tu samviksha, Sapta Dvipa Vati Patihi. Vati is not a separate word, it is a pratyaya. Dvipavati Patihi Saptadvipavati Patihi Vismitaha Stambham Ajahat Vismita Stambham Ajahat Sarvabhauma Shriyanvitam Sarvabhauma Shriyanvitam Yadgarhasthyam tu samviksha Saptadvipavati Patihi विस्मितस्तम्भमजहात् सार्वभौमश्रियान्वितम् यद्गार्हस्थ्यं तु संवीक्ष्य सप्तद्वीपवतीपतिः विस्मितस्तम्भमजहात् सार्वभौमश्रियान्वितम् यद्गार्हस्थ्यं तु संवीक्ष्य सप्तद्वीपवतीपतिः विस्मितस्तम्भमजहात् सार्वभौमश्रियान्वितम् यद्गार्हस्थ्यं तु संवीक्ष्य सप्तद्वीपवतीपतिः विस्मितस्तम्भमजहात् सार्वभौमश्रियान्वितम् Yet he whose garhasthyam, family life, householder life, to but samviksha, observing, saptadvipavati patihi, Mandhata, who was the king of the entire world, consisting of 7 islands. Vismitaha was struck with wonder. Stambham, pride due to a prestigious position. Ajahat, he gave up. Sarvabhauma, the emperor of the entire world. Shriya Anvitam, blessed with all kinds of opulence. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. Mandhata, the king of the entire world, consisting of 7 islands, was struck with wonder when he saw the household opulence of Saubhari Muni. Thus he gave up his false prestige and his position as emperor of the world. Please repeat this translation. Mandhata, the king of the entire world, consisting of 7 islands, was struck with wonder when he saw the household opulence of Saubhari Muni. Thus he gave up his false prestige in his position as emperor of the world. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Everyone is proud of his own position, but here was an astounding experience in which the emperor of the entire world felt himself defeated in all details of material happiness by the opulence of Saubhari Muni. I'll read the next verse also by myself. Text 48. Evam griheshu abhirato vishayan vividhai sukhaihi sevamanona cha atushyat ajyastokairivanalaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. In this way, Saubhari Muni enjoyed sense gratification in the material world, but he was not at all satisfied. Just as a fire never ceases blazing if constantly supplied with drops of fat. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Material desire is just like a blazing fire. If a fire is continually supplied with drops of fat, the fire will increase more and more and never be extinguished. Therefore, the policy of trying to satisfy material desires by catering to one's material demands will never be successful. In modern civilization, everyone is engaged in economic development, which is another way of constantly dropping fat into the material fire. The Western countries have reached the summit of material civilization, but people are still dissatisfied. Real satisfaction is Krishna consciousness. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 5.29, where Krishna says, Bhoktaram yajna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suradam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim vichati. The sages, knowing me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attain peace from the pangs of material miseries. One must therefore take to Krishna consciousness and advance in Krishna consciousness by properly following the regulative principles. Then one can attain an eternal blissful life in peace and knowledge. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we have come to the portion describing the title of the chapter, the downfall of Saubhari Muni. Even though from material calculation one will not think that Saubhari Muni had a downfall. When, by using his mantra power, he is able to marry 50 beautiful princesses and not only marry them by transforming his body into a beautiful youthful body fit for even the apsaras in the heavenly planets. So by material calculations, he is a very successful yogi. Which materialist will think that Saubhari Muni had a downfall? So, Bhagavatam gives us a totally different perspective in life. Therefore, if somebody tries to read Bhagavatam without understanding the spiritual perspective, then they will think, oh, this Bhagavatam is not a proper scripture. They may even consider that Bhagavatam is having a pessimistic view of life, negative way of looking at things. Sometimes materialists do criticize devotees. And one reporter told this to Prabhupada when he heard that devotees, they chant 16 rounds of Hare Krishna mantra and they follow 4 regulative principles. Then he asked, what do you guys do for fun? How do you enjoy life? I see that your life is very, very dull and boring. No meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex. And chant 16 rounds, same mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Go on chanting like this. No variety even in the mantra. So how do you people enjoy life? So Prabhupada gave him a very interesting reply. Prabhupada said, our life is Kevala Ananda Kanda. Spiritual life means only pleasure, only Ananda, only bliss. There is no suffering, there is no misery. So this perspective is difficult for common people to understand. Therefore, the instruction given regarding Bhagavatam is, don't be a casual reader of Bhagavatam. Before coming to Krishna consciousness, I had heard about something like Krishna performed rasa dance, rasa leela. And I didn't have any proper understanding of what this rasa leela or rasa dance is. Of course, one moralist had told me that Krishna is God, but Krishna actually did not engage in rasa dance. So he was trying to give a different meaning to rasa dance and cover up. And Prabhupada says this, that some people, they try to cover up this explanation of the rasa dance. And some people, they think it is a license for everyone to engage in enjoying the company of the opposite sex. But neither of them have understood what is the Bhagavatam teaching us. Therefore, if you have to read Bhagavatam, you have to read from the beginning, and you should have guidance of a pure devotee of Krishna. If you don't have such proper guidance, you can never understand Bhagavatam. It's not possible. So, Saubhari Muni's incident described here, the title, Downfall of Saubhari Muni, is only understood by devotees. And what is interesting here is, that when Saubhari Muni approached the king, Mandhata, who was not just a king, he was the emperor of the world. So Mandhata actually indirectly refused him. I cannot marry my daughters to you. But later on, when Saubhari Muni used his mystic power and transformed himself into a very handsome, young, beautiful looking young man, fit for even enjoyment by the denizens of heaven, then all his daughters married him. And not only that, he was able to use his mantra power to create an opulent home with garments, ornaments, decorated manservants, maidservants, parks, gardens, fragrant flowers, birds chirping, professional singers, valuable beds, seats, ornaments. So, Vismitaha, King Mandhata was struck with wonder. He was struck with wonder on seeing this opulence. And he felt himself defeated. That even I, as the emperor of the world, I am not able to produce like this opulence. Is it easy to, even if somebody has money, to arrange like this just by chanting mantra? Even if somebody is having money, enough money to arrange all this, procuring and arranging all this is not easy. So, this King Mandhata, emperor of the world, even though he was struck with wonder and was feeling himself defeated by the opulence of Saubhari Muni, he gave up his false prestige in his position as the emperor of the world. This is a lesson for all of us. And Prabhupada says this as devotees. When we come across a very rich person with a lot of opulence, we should give up our false prestige and not become ourselves desirous that I also want to enjoy like him. Or sometimes somebody may become envious and criticize him. No. We should not become envious. Why we should not be envious? Because we should understand that that person cannot be opulent unless he has got sufficient pious credits. And those pious credits have been awarded by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is seated as Paramatma in his heart. Nothing is possible without the sanction of the Supreme Lord as Paramatma in this material world. So why should a devotee be envious? Why should anybody be envious? So therefore, we should understand, if I envy some person who has got something which I don't have, envy means that. He has got so much wealth, I don't have. That's enviousness. So then, such enviousness is not just envying that person, but such enviousness is envy towards Krishna. It is being envious of Krishna. Who has sanctioned him? That wealth. It is Krishna who has sanctioned. So therefore, we should never be envious of anybody in this material world. Now, Mandhata, he did not become envious of Saubhari Muni. Neither he felt that Saubhari Muni may have wealth, may have 50 beautiful wives. But after all, who are they? They are my daughters. And Saubhari Muni doesn't have the power I have. I am the ruler of the entire world. Saptabhipavati Patihi. What is my power? And what is his power? So he did not feel proud. Stambham ajahat. He gave up his pride. There might have been little pride, of course. He was a very intelligent king. Only by proper use of intelligence, one is able to give up such pride or not become envious. So, it's a lesson for us. Never be envious of any other person who may have more wealth or more knowledge or even more renunciation. Sometimes we see that older devotees who have been practicing Krishna consciousness for a very, very long time, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, when they see some new bhakta joins and very nicely takes up Krishna consciousness and very quickly makes advancement. So seeing the advancement of a very young devotee, the older devotee may become envious of such young devotee. And this is certainly a big obstacle for one's own progress in Krishna consciousness. Unless we give up this material disease called envy, we cannot make progress in Krishna consciousness. The beginning of the Bhagavatam, it is said, who can really properly appreciate the Srimad Bhagavatam? Paramo nirmatsaranam satam. Only the Paramahamsas, who are completely free from all enviousness, they can appreciate the Bhagavatam fully. So, even spiritual advancement is not possible if somebody has got enviousness in their heart. So learn from Mandhata how he gave up. He didn't become envious of Saubhari Muni. Neither he felt himself superior. In the 20 items of knowledge described by Krishna in the 13th chapter, Amanitvam, Adambhitvam. See, these are two different things. Amanitvam means to be humble, without expecting honor from others. Amanitvam. And Adambhitvam, prideless. Pride is different from the expectation of being honored by others. Pride is irrespective of whether others give me honor or not. I consider myself as great, or I consider myself very wealthy, or very powerful, or very learned, whatever it may be. Any of it is. So this pride also he gave up. Everyone is proud of his position, but here is an astounding example of the emperor of the entire world giving up his own pride. And such pride is described rightly as false prestige, ahankara, false prestige. False prestige is that I am rich, or I am powerful, I am great, I am learned, I am very renounced. Even a sannyasi. A sannyasi also, if he becomes proud because he has accepted sannyas or he is following some principles of renunciation, that is also a big obstacle for his own progress in Krishna consciousness. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us when one devotee, Vallabha Bhatta, he began inquiring from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about some topics of the Bhagavatam. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, what do I know of Bhagavatam? I am a Mayavadi sannyasi. Better you ask, make inquiries from Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Acharya Prabhu. All of them are Vaishnavas. So they can properly explain to you these topics of the Bhagavatam. Of course, indirectly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching us that Mayavadis, however much they may make a show of renunciation or even Vedanta studies, they cannot explain the Bhagavata Vedanta. Bhagavata is also Vedanta. It is a natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra by the author himself. So this Bhagavatam, to understand this philosophy, Vedanta philosophy, this is Bhakti Vedanta. Mayavadis have their own version of Vedanta. Mayavada Vedanta, if I may use that term. That is not real Vedanta understanding. The proper Vedanta understanding is Bhakti Vedanta. What is the justification for claiming that proper understanding of Vedanta is Bhakti Vedanta? In the 15th chapter, Krishna says, Vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedyam. One who has understood Vedas, which means he has understood the conclusion of the Vedas, Vedanta, actually knows Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God. Who can know Krishna? Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yat cha asmi tattvataha. Krishna can be understood only by bhakti, which means that one can understand Vedanta only by bhakti. Therefore, the conclusion of Vedanta is bhakti. Therefore, the title that was given to Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Vedanta, is the most appropriate title. And such a title is appropriate only for a devotee, not for non-devotee, even if the non-devotee is a learned scholar in Vedanta philosophy, like the Mayavadis. They are not entitled to claim that they have understood the conclusion of the Vedas. So, amanitvam adambhitvam. This Mandhata, he gave up the pride of being the emperor of the entire world. And that is really beneficial for him because he has to give up his position as the emperor of the world sooner or later. Better he gives up before death comes and develops detachment from all such power and comforts and opulence and everything, household affairs. So formerly, Big kings, great emperors, they used to renounce everything and go to the forest or some secluded place or some holy place and practice severe austerities to detach themselves and completely focus on self-realization. And there are many examples in the Bhagavatam itself. The Pandavas, they renounced their kingdom, their wealth, everything, and simply went on Mahaprasthana. What is noteworthy is that after the Pandavas, with great difficulty, they got back their kingdom, which was their proper claim. Only they had a proper claim on the kingdom of the entire world. But this Duryodhana and party cheated the Pandavas in so many ways. And the Kauravas were enjoying the kingdom, the opulence, the power. But when the Pandavas got back, that too by Krishna's intervention it happened. Otherwise, as devotees, they were not interested. But Krishna did not want demoniac-natured persons to rule the world. So Krishna arranged the Pandavas reclaim their lost kingdom. After that, the Mahabharata says, how long did the Pandavas rule? They were in which yuga? Dwapar Yuga. Dwapar Yuga, what was the average lifespan? 1000 years. And how many years did they rule? 36 years. The Pandavas ruled only for 36 years. Why? As soon as Yudhishthira found out that Krishna has left this world, then Yudhishthira said, there is no point in continuing. So, he simply handed over charge of ruling the world to his grandson Parikshit and simply gave up. See, Dhritarashtra, just the opposite. After he lost all his sons in the battle, instead of leaving the palace and going away for practicing spiritual life, he was living comfortably as the guest of Yudhishthira Maharaj. And the Pandavas, just the opposite. They could have lived longer, but they gave up and went away. So we have a lot of examples in the Bhagavatam and in the scriptures, in the Puranas. We have many examples. So, Mandhata, he was struck with wonder and he learnt a lesson from Saubhari Muni's example. So, for us to learn such lessons, it's not only by studying Shastra, only by a formal education or some formal training. No. We can learn so many things simply by observing all around us. Simply by observing. In the 11th canto, there is a description of one Avadhuta. He described to, I don't remember whom, to one inquisitive inquirer that I have 24 gurus from whom I learnt spiritual lessons. And he lists these 24 gurus as different personalities just surrounding him in the forest. What he learned from a snake, what he learned from a prostitute, what he learned from a ordinary householder, like that. So this suggests that we can learn simply by observing all around us. So which is possible only if we develop that vision that we have to be careful to follow the regulative principles and make spiritual advancement while practicing spiritual life, not only by studying the scriptures, but by also observing all around us. Our learning and our progress can be accelerated. Just like the mistakes others make, we don't have to learn by ourselves also making that mistake. Simply by observing somebody else make a mistake, we should become alerted. I should not make that mistake myself. So like this, simply by observing, so many things can be learned. That is the value of association of devotees. That will be very much stressed by Saubhari Muni. In a later verse, we'll come across that. That anybody who wants to practice spiritual life should always give up company of sense enjoyers and seek association of devotees. And in such association, one is able to nicely practice. Not only practice following the regulative principles, but also learn simply by observing all around them and by hearing and interacting with such devotees. This is very, very important. So, the example of Mandhata should be emulated by all of us. That whenever we see a very rich person, instead of becoming proud of our own position or becoming envious of that person, we should give up our false prestige and endeavor to make a spiritual advancement by becoming purified of this ahankara. I'll stop here. Antarat Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.